Week 17 of the fantasy baseball with the trade deadline over. He has a few hitters I look to sell and trade this week. The first hitter, Tyler Fitzgerald of the San Francisco Giants. Tyler Fitzgerald, he got the job a few weeks ago after Nick Ahmed got cut loose, and now he's with the Los Angeles Dodgers. And Fitzgerald, he wasn't doing much of the season, but the last 2 weeks of the season, he's been one of the hottest hitters in fantasy baseball in the season. 9 home runs, 19 RBIs, 25 runs scored, 120 at-bats, 7 stolen bases, a 308 average, and a 371 on base. And over the last 2 weeks, 7 home runs, 12 RBIs, 11 runs scored, 366 average, and a 435 on base. Tyler Fitzgerald, he took the league by storm last week, where he had 5 games in a row with a home run, and a multiple home run game was Tyler Fitzgerald. So the power's been a big thing for him over the last week and a half. But I think things are going to slow down for Fitzgerald, and he's a valuable trade chip, I believe. Shortstop, he plays for this Giant team, and obviously these power numbers are not sustainable at all. And I always say in my videos, if you could pick someone up off the waiver wire and flip them in a deal with someone with more consistency and more upside, this will be the time to do it, especially with Fitzgerald hitting 7 home runs in a 2-week span. July 26th versus the Rockies, 3 for 5, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, 3 runs scored. July 27th in a doubleheader versus the Rockies, 2 for 8, a homer and RBI in that one. July 28th versus the Rockies, 1 for 5, and July 30th versus the A's, 0 for 4. So like I said, this Giant team, they're still hanging around in the wild card race, 4.5 games out. But Fitzgerald, he's been a big boost to this lineup, no doubt about it. But like I said, I don't believe these power numbers are going to keep up. I know he's a pretty solid prospect in the Giant system, but anytime you could pick someone off the waiver wire and trade them in a deal, especially after they're putting up power numbers like that, that's not sustainable. This will be the time to do it. Because going back a couple weeks, I said that about Rhys Hind for the Cincinnati Reds, that you should sell him off, and now he's not even in the major leagues. They sent him back to the minor leagues. I'm not saying this could be the same situation, but it's a similar one in terms of a guy who's never really shown big-time power, even in the minor leagues, to flip him in a deal for more consistency or a starting pitcher. The next hitter, Jeff McNeil of the New York Mets. After the All-Star break, Jeff McNeil, he found the power stroke as well, and hitting the baseball great since then with 4 home runs, 12 RBIs, a 341 average. But the first half of the season, he didn't do anything, and his overall numbers on the year, 9 home runs, 36 RBIs, 45 runs scored, 5 stolen bases, a 231 average, and a 286 on base. So all of a sudden, I don't think Jeff McNeil is going to go out there and be this big-time power hitter. I could say his batting average could go up for fantasy owners in this New York Met team, but RBIs and home runs is not going to be the case for Jeff McNeil, and he'll steal maybe a few more bags for the remainder of the season. So the last few games for McNeil: July 26th versus Atlanta, 1 for 4 run. July 27th versus Atlanta, 1 for 3. July 28th versus the Braves, 0 for 4. July 29th versus the Twins, 2 for 4, 2 runs, 3 RBIs. And July 30th versus the Twins, 0 for 2. So Jeff McNeil, he had that surge the first 5-6 games with the power after the All-Star break. Things are already going back to normal with Jeff McNeil that we saw over the last couple seasons, where weak contact he's getting, and he's not even hitting the baseball or driving it. So I think it was an anomaly a little bit, showing power after the All-Star break, getting refreshed with 4 or 5 days off before getting back on the field. And right now, since McNeil's playing good baseball, and yes, the average is up, but already the power is diminishing after he got off to that hot start after the break. He's a sell-high hitter this week, and with his second base eligibility and plays the outfield as well, that could add some value in a deal. Also, the next hitter, Lawrence Butler of the Oakland Athletics. So Lawrence Butler, he's come out of nowhere over the last 3 weeks. Right before the All-Star break, he got consistent playing time, had a 3 home run game in that last game before the break, the Philadelphia Phillies, and he's taken off ever since on the year. 12 home runs, 35 RBIs, 33 runs scored, 8 stolen bases, a 258 average, and a 324 on base. And over the last month of the season, he pretty much got the majority of his stats: 10 home runs, 27 RBIs, 23 runs scored, 4 stolen bases, a 379 average, and a 426 on base. And over the last 2 weeks, he's hitting 435, so he's come out of nowhere. Like I said, is Lawrence Butler. And this Oakland Athletic team, I know their record isn't good, competitive team this season here, where they got some hitting in that lineup. You got Butler, you got Brent Rooker, who's been on a great run. Shea Langoliers, he's been a good hitter for them. Zach Galloff. So they got some players for the future here is Oakland, and Butler's definitely one of them, but I just don't believe he's going to keep it up at this pace. And teams, they're going to start throwing a lot of more breaking ball stuff and let this youngster chase, and that's what they got to do, because right now he's sitting dead red. He's the catalyst and the leadoff hitter for Oakland, and he's doing a great job, no doubt about it. But once again, I believe things are going to cool off for him, just like a Fitzgerald situation I mentioned early in the video, and even a Rhys Hind situation. I'm not saying he's going to go back to the minor leagues, that's not the case, or just showing pure power, but I don't believe his value is going to be this great the remainder of the year. July 26th at the Angels, 0 for 5. July 27th at the Angels, 2 for 4, a run, a stolen base. July 28th at the Angels, 1 for 5, a run. And July 30th at the Giants, 2 for 5, a homer, an RBI, 2 runs scored. So he's playing great baseball. One of the hottest pickups all season is Lawrence Butler, no doubt about it. But like I said, I just don't believe the power is going to stick for him and pitchers. They're going to start throwing more breaking ball stuff and see if Butler's going to chase out of the zone. So they're going to make adjustments, and we'll see if Butler can make the adjustments as well. So right now, it's one of those cases where I said if you could pick someone off the wire and flip them in a deal for something great and a proven player, this would be the time to do it with Butler. The next hitter, Vlad Guerrero Jr. of the Toronto Blue Jays. So Vlad Guerrero, he got off to a slow start in the beginning of the season, and now he's white hot and one of the best hitters in the league. And this Toronto team, they had a crazy fire sale at the Major League trade deadline. They traded at least 7 or 8 players away, but Vlad and Bo Bichette, Chris Bassett, the Berrios, the only couple players left that didn't get dealt that were in the rumor mill. So on the season for Vlad, 21 home runs, 69 RBI, 62 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, a .312 average, and a .383 on-base percentage. So like I said, with all those players traded away, we saw Kevin Kiermaier from this lineup go. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa got traded, even though he's been banged up of late. Justin Turner traded as well. So some decent pieces traded from this Toronto Blue Jay team. And there's going to be less protection in the lineup here for Vlad Guerrero Jr. And if I'm an opposing pitcher, I'm not even going to give him much to hit. What other hitters who aren't proven and youngsters in the lineup try to do something. Because the last month of the season, one of the best players in fantasy, number 5 ranked, 8 home runs, 19 RBIs, 22 runs scored, a .363 average, and a .413 on base. Obviously, I don't believe these numbers are going to keep up for Vlad Guerrero. And like I said, if I'm an opposing pitcher and this Blue Jay team's pretty much gutted this lineup, besides a couple hitters here and there, I would not pitch to him and just throw him junk and make him chase for the most part. July 27th versus Texas, 3 for 5, 3 runs. July 28th versus Texas, 1 for 3, a homer, 2 RBIs. July 29th, what a doubleheader. One of the better doubleheader games you'll ever see. 7 for 10 in that one. 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 4 runs scored, where that really boosted up his numbers. And July 30th versus at the O's, 1 for 2 with a run. So Vlad Guerrero, he's white hot, like I mentioned, hitting out of this world. But like I said, opposing teams, they're going to start catching on now, I believe, and just pitch him junk around him, because there's not really many threats in that lineup after they dealt a bunch of players at the deadline is Toronto. And obviously they're building for the future and seeing what they got with the younger guys. So right now, Vlad Guerrero's pretty much the only monster hitter in this lineup to go with Springer, and Bichette's banged up. He's a sell-high hitter this week, and the final hitter I look to sell in trades, Juan Yepes of the Washington Nationals. So Juan Yepes, minor leagues the majority of the whole season until July, where Joey Gallo's been on the injured list and Joey Meneses got sent down to the minor leagues. So in a small sample size, in 81 at-bats, 2 home runs, 14 RBIs, 14 runs scored, a stolen base, a .346 average, and a .389 on base. So playing good baseball, no doubt about it, is Juan Yepes. Still available in 56% of fantasy leagues. And we saw Washington go out there and trade some key pieces as well at the deadline, where they're just trying to build with younger players and see what they got for the future as well, where they traded Jesse Winker. One of their better hitters this season was this Washington National team. And Lane Thomas, their best hitter, I believe, an overall player in the everyday lineup besides C.J. Abrams. They traded it away as well. July 27th at the Cardinals, 2 for 5 a run, 3 RBIs. July 28th at the Cardinals, 0 for 3 an RBI. July 29th at the D-backs, 2 for 5 with a run. And July 30th at the D-backs, where they lost 17-0 in that one. What a blowout it was. 0 for 4. So Yepes, he's showing batting average, he's showing some pop, and he's batting second in this lineup. And like I said, with a couple key players traded away, there's going to be a spot for Yepes, I believe, in this lineup every day for the remainder of the season, where he could play the corner outfield as well. So that's a few hitters I look to sell and trade for Week 17 of the fantasy baseball season.